keep Mr. Concamola up?
No, he's muted himself.
All right, so I'm ready to call this the May 11th meeting of the Groton Planning and Zoning Commission to order at what do I have? 6:38. My computer says. So, in terms of roll call and establishing quorum, we have Ms. Bergeron, Mr. Baumgartner, Mr. Keeler, Mrs. Streeter, Mr. Streeter, Mr. Foster, and Mr. Kunkemuller in attendance. Correct?
Yes.
All right. So then the first item on our agenda is approval of the April 21, 2020 meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Jim Streeter moves.
Chase Paul. Jerry Keeler second. Jerry Keeler seconds.
All right. I'm sorry. Who made the motion?
John Casey.
Jim Streeter made the motion.
Hello?
Thank you.
Jerry Keeler seconded.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
David Rose is at the meeting.
Oh, there's Mr. Rose. All right. So that means I have to unseat Mr. Foster, but Chase, you can participate, but you won't be able to vote.
Can you hear me?
Oh.
John?
Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, that's clear.
All right, thank you. So we've got a motion and a second on the minutes, and is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'm going to call the roll for approval. So, Ms. Bergeron.
Okay, back on. Keep on moving.
Okay, Ms. Bergeron is yes. Mr. Baumgartner?
I abstain.
Abstained. Mr. Keeler?
Yes.
Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Streeter?
Yes.
Mr. Streeter?
Yes.
Mr. Kunkemuller votes yes. So the minutes are approved, 6-0-1. All right, next item on our agenda is receipt of applications. The first one is modification to special permit 461 with coastal site plan 314, site plan 469, electric boat south yard assembly building. This the date of receipt for this was March 17th, and we need a decision by June 23rd. That will be presented tonight. So the second one is coastal site plan 318, site plan 475, electric boat T-lot near building 80. That will be officially received on the date of our scheduled meeting, which is May 19th. And we will need to have a decision due then by July 25th without any extensions. Mr. Smith, can you confirm that that's been referred to BL companies for review? Is that correct?
No, it has not yet. You'll vote on that later tonight after the public hearing, or after the special permit modification. We'll come back. We'll come back to that after.
I'm sorry, we have to vote on referring that, or I'm referring the T-lot application for review. Is that correct?
That's correct. We'll come back to that after the presentation.
All right. All right. And then the third is zoning text amendments, TA 20-1, section 5.4, which is a new section authorizing planned development district, FDC and WBR zones. That again will be received on May 19th, our regular meeting date. We need to open a public hearing by July 23rd, and that has been referred to the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments Planning Department for review. Is that correct, Mr. Smith?
Yes, Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments is helping us review that one.
Okay, so that's one where we'll be looking to open a public hearing by July 23rd. Depending on, one of the things we'll have to talk about tonight is dates for our June and July meetings, but.
Correct. We'll come back to that after, because the recommendation, as you can see, would be to July 13th.
Right.
We can't meet on those Tuesday nights. I want the commission to understand the reason why we're moving these around is that we can't have the meeting on Tuesday night with the TV due to the fact that the town council has it.
Understood. All right. So then the next item is new business, and this is a public presentation by Electric Boat for modifications, the special permit 461, coastal site plan 314, site plan 469, Electric Boat self-yard assembly building. So I would open that up to the whoever is presenting that application for Electric Boat.
You can grab any of those microphones.
Are you going to say anything?
No, you're going to do the presentation, and then I'll make
And then you'll do it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're
That
all-
way they can make sure that they understand.
Okay.
So yes, and please identify yourself.
Good evening. This is Kristen Soloway. I'm, for the record, I'm a vice president with Weston O'Neill, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Electric Boat. I'm waiting. We're having trying to get the presentation up. Hold on one sec.
Okay.
What if you close that?
I'm sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. We're trying.
They won't respond to any of the applicants.
Dan? Do you have something?
Yes, Jill. Yes, Jill.
So somehow you're stuck on my screen?
Yeah, I see. I can't do anything. I'm trying to click off so you got the full screen, but nothing responds at my end.
Are two people trying to share at the same time, perhaps?
No, because he doesn't have access to share on here.
Huh.
He looks like he would send me a message, but it's somehow stuck.
Can you close that second line?
Yeah, X out at the bottom, send an IM. Try that.
Now
Oh, y'all are brilliant. Thank you.
Oh, okay, go on.
Takes a village.
we're all in this together.
All right. Can everybody see that screen?
Oh, Jim and I are on a telephone now. We lost it. We lost the connection.
Okay, did she get this presentation?
No, she had to go online and pull it down.
Oh.
Did you drop everybody off,
Yeah.
We
off
did.
of Skype then?
Did I lose everybody?
This is Brian Leclerc. I could see this.
Yeah, Stan Novak can see it.
Okay. So I think your screen's doing okay. Armin, do you want to try dialing back in? Or do you just want
Okay, I'll try once again. All right. We did print things offline today. Nothing happened. Let me try again.
Kristen, now we don't see your document any longer.
No, I just pulled it down because I'm hoping that Jim and Irma can get back on.
Okay, Kristen, for the record, when you start going through the documents, if you could just announce what the documents are,
Okay.
what their designations are, please. Thank you.
Anyone who is on the phone who has access to channel 2, this should be streaming live on channel 2.
Is it on YouTube?
It is not
TV?
on YouTube. It will be later, but it is not right now.
Okay, I've tried 3 or 4 times. It's not getting all the way through to you. I don't know why. It starts acting like it's going to, and then it doesn't.
You need to start the presentation or yes.
Okay.
We both,
I know, but I'm listening.
Oh.
This is Sam Alexander with the Southeastern Connecticut Council of Governments. I just wanted to say that I did find it on YouTube.
oh, you did? Can you tell me where?
It's the Groton Municipal Television page, and it's live right now.
Okay, so Jim and Irma, if you can pull up Groton Municipal Television, you should be able to see this.
Okay, what's the best way to get to that?
Pull it up and I can send you.
Can you send that link to me also, Sue Bergeron? Me too.
Yeah, it's Jerry Keeler would like the link to.
Okay, if you Google Groton CT Municipal Television, it will come up.
Deb, can we back this up a little? Is that possible?
What was that, link again?
Groton Municipal Television. And then at the very top, it says City of Groton Planning and Zoning Commission 5/11/20. If you click on that, you can see it live.
Click here to watch, yep.
Are we all good?
I haven't found it. I just got into it.
Groton CT
I found
Municipal
it.
Television. You're good, Irma?
Yep.
Okay.
Sue, I have Groton Municipal Television. I searched that and it came up with like 20 different
There should be
videos.
Groton Municipal Television YouTube.
Okay.
And then at the very top of the page, it should say City of Groton Planning and Zoning Commission 5/11/20. And it's a live feed.
Now I have 212.
You want to go down a little further, get past those.
I can't,
Just not finding it.
No, she's at the top of the page,
she has to go down a little further.
in her search categories.
Look down a little further in your search categories.
Yeah, the first one shows videos. If you keep going past 6 videos, then it says Groton Municipal Television YouTube.
If you go to home, it should be the first thing at the top of the page. But I'm looking on my phone, so it might be different if you pull it up on a computer. Has everyone else found it?
Nope. Are we all set, Commission?
Jerry, yes.
Tim and I can't see it, but we can hear it on the phone.
Well, how are you going to see it? You're going to watch it.
Okay, it's either on Channel 2 right now, or you have it in your packet, and Kristen can tell you what page you may be on in your packet
When I get, yeah.
when we get there,
Right.
like SY 155, right?
Right.
SY 154.
Yeah, so the first plan that is up on the screen right now is not in your packet, but it's the typical site plan of the overall site that I always show with the blue water. Just to give you a location, we're down in this very southern part of the shipyard. There's along the railroad tracks where our previous application for the South Yard Assembly Building, there was a construction road in this area. So we're looking to place some fill that's from on-site. And Jill, can you go to the next one, since most of them can't see it? One more. Yeah, that should be good. Oh, it's not.
Kristen, could you go to like the full screen view on that?
Yeah, it's how the camera's picking this up. We're working on
You
it.
see it on TV now?
Okay.
We can't see the. Probably once she moves it this time, it should be okay. Right there is good. It's a little, it's kind of difficult to see through the camera. It doesn't quite look the same on the screen. But this is SYC. This is SYC 104. And this shows that, the area of where we're going to be grading. It's up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. And the grading will be, so the purpose of this grading is to minimize some, to keep some of the fill that's generated from the assembly building and to keep it on site. This will minimize some truck movements. And since there's an area here along, it's an existing hillside, and we're looking to just place some of the material along the hillside, like I said, to minimize some of the material from coming off the site. The existing hillside, there is some ledge. It's mainly grass. we're going to restore it by placing the fill in the area, maintaining the 2-to-1 slope that's there. There will be a bench halfway up so that it's not a 2-to-1 slope all the way down. And then there'll be some riprap placed on the majority of the hillside. Maybe if you go to the next one, we can, yeah, so you can see here the hatch,
There it is, perfect.
the area circled for where we'll be placing all this material. And on the edges and at the top of the hill, we'll be placing erosion control matting and seeding it to allow a natural restoration into the existing grass that's there. And then in the middle, and it will be placed with riprap. This will allow for extra compaction and to stabilize the hillside faster. We'll be placing erosion control measures at the toe of slope. It will be keyed in so that there's less, it won't be as susceptible to erosion. There'll be, like I said, silt fence and hay bales along the construction road and then down at the toe of slope before along the railroad tracks. There is a drainage pipe that comes out kind of in the middle of the fill area, and we'll be extending that so that existing drainage patterns will be maintained, and then along the railroad tracks we'll be picking it up with a yard drain. Oh sure, I'm on SYC 124.
Part of the package.
Yeah, and then that's in your package. This does,
124?
yes, 124.
I have 154.
That's what I have too.
We can go to 154 if that makes it easier.
It's 154 in our package.
Yes, there's 124 was from the first one.
Yeah,
So,
that says 154.
because she just moved it.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. So, yes, now we're looking at 154 as well.
It's the same.
Okay, we've got that too.
Okay. This area is not visible from Eastern Point Road or from the Thames River. From Eastern Point Road, there's several buildings, and it sits it's more than 500 feet away from Eastern Point Road, and then it drops down to the railroad tracks. And on the river side, there is some ledge that you're in a valley in this area, so it will not be visible from either location. As I said, it's right along the railroad tracks. This project is within the 1,000-foot coastal area boundary, so we are seeking CAM approval, and it is we are looking to have this be a minor site plan modification.
Kristen, can you tell them what topo the top of that ridge is? You can go right up and see it if you want, and then what the bottom is, and that way they can see.
So we're up around
The top of the topo.
yeah, the top of the slope is. We're matching in at elevation 49.
So the top of the topo, where they're going to put the top part of the soil, is 49. As an example to you on that, Eastern Point Road in that area is about 70.
Yes, we're up around 70.
So you can see there's, you can look at it and see there's a 20-foot differential just from Eastern Point Road before you'd even see the top of this where they're going to regrade to. And it's going to go down to, from that point it goes down to what, Kristen?
Elevation 22.
It goes down to elevation 22, so almost 25 feet elevation drop. I just want you, just so you can kind of think about that for a second. If you stood on the street, could you possibly see this? And my answer to you would be no, as staff.
So this is Paul Kunkemuller. So we're looking at basically a 30-foot drop. Is that correct?
49
Yes.
to 22?
Yeah, 30 feet roughly.
30 feet, yep.
Yes. If you go to the next one down. And now we're on sheet SYC 155, and we did provide a section, and it shows a section profile of the hillside where you can see the change in elevation down to the railroad tracks in the lower right-hand corner.
Yeah, this is something again, Paul Kunkemuller. So on that slide, that it shows a security fence and an existing parking lot. Is that that small parking lot that's right along Eastern Point Road?
No, that is further back.
Okay.
It's a lot further away from Eastern Point Road. There's like I said, it's about 500, maybe even more than 500 feet. It might be closer to 750 feet or so. There's several buildings. What you see from Eastern Point Road would be Building 80 that is presently having an addition. And then it's behind that building. And there's another
83.
Building 83 is behind that.
So this is Carlton Smith. So the first building you'd see on Eastern Point Road that's getting the addition is Building 80. About 3-4 years ago, we built Building 83. It's the same building, kind of building. It's for the Navy guys on there, and that building's probably about 100 feet away from Building 80. And Building 83 is probably another 100 feet to where this fill area is that you're going to go down to.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any other questions?
So, Paul Kunkemuller, any questions or comments from commissioners?
Carl asked me to state how much material we're placing there. It's going to be 2,400 cubic yards. There'll be 2,300. It's 2,200 cubic yards of material, and then there'll be some riprap, and then the topsoil. And that should be in your packet. There's a breakout. So it's 2,300 cubic yards of soil, 100 cubic yards of topsoil, and then 880 cubic yards of intermediate riprap.
So any comments or questions from commissioners? Well, so this is Paul Kunkemuller, so I've got a couple up. So where on the site did this material come from? It came from excavation for the new assembly building. Did I understand that correctly?
Correct, and it is on the land side of where the assembly building is going. So it is not coming from the river material. It is coming from the land area in the south yard.
And is the soil, what's the composition, and is it contaminated in any way?
So it is what is considered polluted soil, and it means all the environmental RSRs. It has been reviewed by Woodard and Curran, and they have provided some documentation that's in your packet to describe in further the details of it. So it doesn't have any contaminants that would be deemed environmentally unsafe for this use. It will fall under, since Electric Boat, the entire shipyard facility has an approved remedial action plan, and this will be added to it. It is, the area of soil to be excavated meets the Connecticut Deep applicable RSR standards and is not subject to remediation or any further remedial action plan.
Paul Kunkemoller again, so that means it doesn't contain any toxics or heavy metals, is that correct?
Correct.
And then another again, Paul Kunkemoller, another question I had was one of the issues that have been raised by in the questions from BL companies have been talking about a compaction plan to assist with stabilization of the soil. I didn't actually see that addressed in your responses, so can you speak to that?
So the soil is going to be placed starting at the base of the hillside, and it's going to be using, a bulldozer or other equipment to push the soil up the hill. And the soils will be compacted as it's being placed. So as the machinery, an excavator or bulldozer is bringing material up, it will be rolling over the hillside. And if necessary, it'll be rolled by a standard vibratory roller. This isn't an unstandard. This is pretty standard practice for material in an area such as this. I have discussed it with BL companies, and they were okay with this procedure.
Thank you. Paul Kunkemoller again. So I guess, is there any possible impact on the adjacent neighborhood or the adjacent residents?
No, because the soil will be on site and it will just be moved to this area. It will never leave the site that's going to be placed here. So it's a short truck ride through the south yard.
How about noise and dust?
Noise that will be the same noise that is occurring through standard construction practice. And as far as dust goes, it will follow the same procedures that we have prescribed as part of the original application.
This will be done all during standard hour times?
It will be completed during standard times.
No, till 2 in the morning, no 10 o'clock at night.
Paul Kunkemoller again. What's the expected time frame for this work? I mean, not the hours, but date when it's going to start and be completed.
Well, it depends on approval and when we can get when Electric Boat can start this, but they anticipate starting it upon approval and notice in the paper. So and they expect it to take 2 to 3 months. It won't be, it just depends on construction activities over the next few months. But it's
all right. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's not a long duration. It won't be, for the duration of the project.
All right. So we don't expect any impacts on the adjacent neighborhood or the residents in that neighborhood. No additional issues with noise or dust or work hours beyond what is already occurring, correct?
That is correct.
And for approximately 2 to 3 months in duration. Now, do I understand correctly that this is basically being done? I mean, the reason for doing this is just to have some place to put the soil from the excavation, and so it doesn't have to be removed from the site. Am I correct in that understanding?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments from commissioners?
Jim Streeter has a question on what about runoff, and should we have a serious rainstorm?
Well, there will be, erosion control measures at the toe of slope. It will have, silt fence and hay bales. It would be very difficult for water to run across the railroad tracks and into the Thames River. There is ledge on the west side of on the west side of the railroad tracks. There is ledge. You're sitting in a valley, so once you come down the 30 feet, you cross the railroad tracks, and then you're probably going to have another 15 to 20 foot hillside to cross before it goes up, and then it starts to go back down along into the river. So runoff along there will run along the railroad tracks and into existing drainage, but it won't directly go into the Thames River from this hillside.
Okay.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I noticed this is Paul Kunkelmuller. I noticed in the questions and answers that there's drainage going to be installed to collect any runoff after this work is completed. Do I understand that correctly?
That's correct. There was already some drainage proposed under the original application, and we're modifying it to slightly for this project, for this modification.
Other questions or comments from commissioners?
This is Carlton Smith. Stan Novak is on from BNL is on the line with you guys if you have any questions from him. He was the one that did the third-party review with his team.
Thank you. Mr. Novak, do you have any questions or comments about this? The BL company's analysis?
Yes, we reviewed it for consistency for erosion control measures, as well as for the constituents of the soil that will be placed there. It's considered polluted soil, which is, it contains contaminants, but to a level that is of a very minor nature according to deep regulations. And so from an environmental standpoint, this is a common practice to lose polluted soil on the project site rather than haul it off at great expense to a distant facility for treatment, processing, that type of thing. This type of soil does not need to be subject to that type of mediation or correction. So as far as the slope is concerned, the installation will occur from the bottom of the slope and be pushed uphill by the construction equipment such as bulldozers. The movement of that construction equipment will compact the soil to a certain extent. This slope does not have to be what they call load bearing, so there will be compaction of the soil to a sufficient amount where the soil should not let's say go eroding down the slope, especially after the riprap course is placed on top. There will be 18 inches of intermediate riprap to further protect the slope, protect the soils that are underneath. And as far as visual impact, there will be no visual impact from the street. And essentially what this is best depicted on sheet SYC 155 in the cross-section, which depicts really just an extension of that same slope. There's no gain in height of the slope. It's just being added to and further extended to the west to accommodate the deposition of this the soil that they are trying to lose. So hopefully that's a clear understanding of the project. If you have further questions, please fire away. But it appears to be a typical slope construction to lose soil, lose polluted soil in accordance with deep regulations.
Thank you. So this is Paul Kunkemuller. Are there any other questions or comments from commissioners?
Yeah, Jim Streeter has another question. The operation itself will be running 24 hours a day, and the reason why I say that, you're going to have the heavy-duty construction bulldozers moving that around. And I know from my experience living toward the Thames River, as an example, the sand pile in New London, when they were offloading the barges or the freighters with that you would hear those bulldozers running 24 hours a day, and it was kind of agitating to people in the area. So is this a 24-hour operation?
No, this is not a 24-hour operation.
Well, so this is Paul Kunkemuller. So, but it could potentially be operating during the same time that's already been approved for the drilling operations, for example. So that would be 6 a.m. to 2 a.m.
It's not part of the foundation.
No, this is not part of the foundation work.
Okay, so this counts as the regular construction work, which was approved from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Correct.
Any further questions, Mr. Streeter?
No, that answered it. I was just concerned because we've received the noise complaints, and I was just concerned that it might contribute to it.
No, that's a good question. So, Paul Kunkemuller again. Anything else from other commissioners? So, I guess one final a question for me then, following up on something that Mr. Streeter raised, and that's the concern about, I guess once everything's in place and the covering is over the soil, then erosion wouldn't seem to be a major problem. But what about a big rainstorm during the when we still have exposed soil, which is going to be it's a 2 or 3 month project, so I am assuming that a month or 2 of that the soil will be exposed. So what keeps the whole thing from sliding downhill while the construction is ongoing?
So I anticipate that they will be, as they place the soil, it will be compacted as they're placing it. And they may do it in sections and place riprap as they do, a long section up and down the hill. But they're going to start at the bottom and work their way up. So they are responsible for placing erosion control measures and ensuring that there's that erosion is minimized, and they're responsible for making sure that it becomes a stable hillside as they work. So they're not just going to leave a big pile of soil there and walk away at the end of the day. It will be left in a safe manner and with proper erosion control measures.
you. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? So I think the next issue for us would be whether this should be treated as a minor modification to the approved special permit and CAM application.
This is Carlton Smith. So I want to bring you to a couple of sections in our zoning regulations that we should consider. So the first one is site plan application. We're at 9.3, 2, and 2, 4, and then sub A. The first thing it says under the 4, modifications to be approved site plan shall be reviewed by the city planner or commission as may be applicable and classified as either a minor, major, or using the guidelines outlined below. So I'm recommending to the commission that this is minor for the site plan side of this, and after I tell you the other section under special permit, that I'll also have the attorney talk to you. We did have it reviewed by third-party review. As I said, this isn't, as you heard Stan just testify to you, that this isn't a real compaction piece that we need a structural moment to because we're putting a building on it. It's truly about putting the riprap and containing the soils until they're stabilized for those rain events like the commission brought up. So under 9.4 G4, make sure I got the right page here, G4, yes, it's under an approved special permit may be amended or modified provided the applicant shall be made in the same manner as the original applications and subject to the same procedure and approval. Amendments to amendments to the special permit found to be minor nature or which would not substantially alter the special permit as determined by the city planner may be approved by the commission without another public hearing. So once again, under 9.4G4 with A on there, I'm recommending that this should be considered minor and that the commission does not need to go back to a public hearing on that. With that being said, that's why we have the staff attorney on here tonight to make sure that we didn't miss something that could trip us up later. Brian, can you opine on this?
Yes, Mr. Smith. Mr. Chairman, Brian, Leclerc, Bertram, Moses. Mr. Smith is correct, and he cited the correct sections of your zoning regulations for the city, in particular 9.4. As he's determined that this is a minor, an amendment to the existing special permit which you've previously approved, and he's determined this amendment is of a minor nature, you have the authority without another public hearing to approve this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from commissioners on that? Is there a motion to approve this as a minor, to treat this as a minor modification? Do we need to vote on that separately from approval of the modification request?
Yes, you would need a motion to approve the modification special permit 461, coastal site plan 314, site plan 469, electric boat south yard assembly building as on the agenda this evening.
And do we need to state that there's a minor modification or just approve it as it's?
No, you could just approve it as it is, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to for modification to special permit 461. This is Andre, Mr. Chair. So I'll make a motion for modification to special permit 461, the coastal site plan 314, the site plan 469 for electric boat south yard assembly building. So moved.
I'll second it. Irma Streeter.
Second by Mr. Streeter.
Yes. Barr? Yes. Councilman Gale? Yes. Councilman LeBron?
Can we get a motion in a second? Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, I will call the roll for votes. So, Ms. Bergeron?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Baumgartner?
Yes.
Mr. Keeler?
Jerry?
Got it on mute.
Yes?
There we go.
Thank you. Mr. Rose?
Did you get that?
Yes, I did. Sorry, Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Streeter?
Yes.
Mr. Streeter?
Yes.
Well, Coco Muller votes yes. So the motion is approved 7-0-0. All right, thank you. Let's see. So, then moving on. Do we need to go? This new business. Do we need to go back to? We need to further discuss the soaps, the T-Lot project at this point.
Mr. Chairman, what project are you on?
Later.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
what project are you on?
So we approved the modification to special permit 461, coastal site plan 314, site plan 469 for the South Yard Assembly Building for the soil relocation. Correct?
That's correct. And now we're moving to number 2 on the list?
Right. That's the next thing we need to talk about? Correct? Is the this is the electric boat T-Lot project?
That's correct.
Building 80?
That's correct.
So could you outline the issue that we need to discuss there, Mr. Smith?
Yeah. So tonight you're really going to receive this on May 19th. I know it's in your packet, but it's because it's a special meeting. You have to receive it on the regular scheduled meeting night, and that starts the clock on there. I am asking the commission tonight per 9.3D number 12, which states it's proceedings that 9.3D is, and number 12 says the commission may require additional technical assistance to evaluate an application, the expense of which be paid by the applicant as set forth in the city ordinance. So this is a parking lot that's going to go behind Building 80 on the side and behind Building 80. It's an area we just talked about tonight that they would like to percolate the waters, the waters down through, and then whatever comes out would go over the same hillside that we just approved tonight for their application. So I need third-party review for the drainage calcs and the compaction that has to happen with the parking lot up that high. On there. I'm also suggesting instead of the next meeting, that we actually postpone it out to the July 13th meeting, because the next meeting that we could get to is June 8th. I don't think I have enough time to get third-party review done that quickly with all the other things that are coming at us at the same time.
All right. So do you need a motion and approval from the commission to
Yes.
refer this to a consultant for review, or is that something that can be done at your discretion?
No, you can make a motion and to approve it, and as the chair, and then the commission can vote on that.
All right. So I'll make a motion to approve referring Coastal Supply 318, Site Plan 475, Electric OT lots by Building 80 to a third party for review, for technical review.
Baumgartner, second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll for a vote. Ms. Bergeron?
Yes.
Mr. Baumgartner?
Yes.
Mr. Keeler?
Yes.
Mr. Rose?
Yes.
Mrs. Streeter?
Yes.
Mr. Streeter?
Yes.
Paul Kuckemuller votes yes. So the motion is approved 7-0-0.
Mr. Chairman, you also will we will also move that to the July 13th meeting date, which would be a special meeting also due to the fact that the Tuesday night we don't have the public hearing TV stuff.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
All right, then the next project would be the zoning text amendment, TA 20-1. Is there action required tonight?
So I think tonight we have somebody on from SCOG, not Sam, but was it? Mr. LaFontaine?
Hi.
Is that Mr. LaFontaine tonight from SCOG?
This is Justin Fountain. Sam and I are both on the call, yes.
Oh, okay, good. Can you speak to the commission about this text amendment?
Can you say your names again one more time really loudly?
This is Justin Fountain.
Could you spell your last name, please? Justin, could you say your last name again?
LaFountain. L.A. Fountain.
Thank you. And Sam?
And Sam Alexander.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize for mispronouncing your last name.
No worries. Happens all the time.
So can you speak to this text amendment to the commission?
Just go ahead.
Okay, so this text amendment is essentially proposed to allow floating zones within the city of Groton. Floating zones are basically zones that will overlay over existing zones and provide options for more uses available to them. Right now, this has to go before a public hearing by the commission because it's adding an amendment to the zoning regulations. Essentially what's going to happen is this has to be reviewed to a few other different review bodies, the first being the Southeast Council of Governments formally. The two of us are sort of working as contractors with the City of Groton right now on this project, but it has to be reviewed by the Council of Governments formally, and it also has to be reviewed by the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. So that has to be done at least 35 days prior to the hearing. So at this point, we're recommending that the hearing be scheduled at the July meeting of the Groton Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from commissioners?
Yeah, Jim Streeter, is that for that July meeting for the public hearing?
That's correct. That's what we're recommending, yes.
Thank you.
So would we have the presentation and review by the applicant at that time as well?
That's correct. It shouldn't be discussed beforehand because it's not the public hearing yet, and you want to have all that presentation done during the hearing.
Okay. Other questions or comments from commissioners? Do we need to take any action at this point?
Yeah, so what you're going to want to do tonight is set the public hearing for that date in July. Carlton, you might have to jump in and say which, depending on the schedule, what day that would be. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Currently, well, no, it is. We looked it up, and we've already locked it in for July 13th, 2020.
All right. So we need to schedule a. Do we need to schedule a particular date here, or can we just schedule it for our July meeting?
It's going to be July 13th. You have to call that one out because it's a special meeting. It's not your regularly scheduled meeting that has already gone to the State Secretary's office.
Okay.
Please say your name. They're trying to take the minutes here. They can see me, but they can't you. They're not familiar with all your voices.
I'm sorry, it's Paul Kuckemuller.
Yeah.
All right, Paul Kuckemuller, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. We schedule the floating zone amendment for the special meeting on July 13th for a public hearing. Irma Streeter.
Baumgartner, second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, I'll call the roll. Ms. Bergeron.
Yes.
Mr. Baumgartner.
Yes.
Mr. Keeler.
Yes.
Mr. Rose.
Yes.
Mrs. Streeter.
Yes.
Mr. Streeter.
Yes.
Paul Kuckemuller votes yes, so the motion is approved 7-0-0. All right. Any other business on those projects? Or those pending projects? Anything else we need to do, Mr. Smith?
Yes. I can tell you a little further down about the bond release. There's been no new information, so no action will be needed by the commission. And then after that, we got old business.
All right. So the bond release, no action there. Old business. The first is report of commission. Is there anything from commissioners? All right, hearing nothing. This is Paul Kuckemuller again. I guess one of the things that we need to do is confirm the dates for the June and July meetings. We're going to have a couple of public hearings. It looks like in July, and that month we need to move from the 21st to the 13th. Is that correct?
That is correct. This is Carlton.
Yes. And in June, we need to move from the 16th to the 8th. Is that also correct?
That one isn't confirmed yet. We haven't looked at that. We were trying to look out at the public hearings first, and when we confirm that, I just don't know the council schedule that far out yet.
Okay, so at this point we can't set a date for the June. We can't set a confirmed date for the June meeting, but we know it. We tried to do it on the 16th. We'd have to do it at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right?
That's correct, and then we would have to be off by a certain time too. I think it's 6:30. You have to be off. I think there's a commission that comes on, Shellfish Commission, something I seen on the TV the other night. I was looking at the list.
Okay, so.
We probably will have an application for June, and that would be the Park Place application.
Okay. And well, I guess we got a little ahead of ourselves, but are we expecting an application for 47 Beach Pond Road?
I am. I have been in contact with his engineer, and they're trying to figure out all the items that was done and that they have to recorrect. But
Okay.
work has stopped. Here's the big thing. Work has stopped.
All right, thank you. So it's likely we'll need to have a meeting in June, and it would be either the 16th at 4 or possibly the 8th, which would be the second Monday. Right? Yes. The second Monday in June will be the 8th. That would be the same pattern we followed this month, and we're going to follow in July. It's just a matter of who else might be using the television time that day, correct?
We're trying to look at the dates through all our phones right now. Yes, I'm getting a nod that's probably a good night for us to meet in this room. Well,
right,
for us to meet, you to be at your places. But
so Paul Kunkemuller again. So it looks like we'll schedule the June meeting for the 8th at 6:30. And the July meeting for the 13th at 6:30, correct?
That's correct.
That's our current plan? And those would be special meetings.
Yes.
Do we need to vote on that? Or
No, you don't have to vote. You don't need to vote on that. That's just the way this one gets to work with the governor's executive order.
Okay, so that's just an administrative exercise.
That's correct.
All right, so any comments or questions from commissioners on those dates?
Are we on to report of staff now, Mr. Chairman?
I didn't hear any. Apparently, there were no comments or questions from commissioners on the meeting dates in June and July. I guess before we get to staff, there were public communications. Did we received anything further?
No, I have not received any written communications that I won't report to on the staff side of this.
All right, thank you. All right, so report of staff.
First item up, I think maybe the mayor would speak about this also. I know Brian is, and that's for, I've got it on the request for zone waiver for the summer-fall season for 2020. As you may have been reading or hearing, the governor hasn't quite made an executive order, but we've understand we've been planning for this outdoor dining facilities and bars and businesses. There'll be a Skype meeting with the town and city tomorrow with all the businesses that can join on here. The most difficult part is that they don't think they're going to get everything in the executive order because everybody's got their own little twists and turns inside their zoning regulations to make this happen. So with our staff attorney, I think Brian's still on. I'm trying to look up at the screen there. We have...
I am Mr. Smith.
Yes, there we are. Yeah. And the mayor's sitting here. I don't think he was expected to speak, but he just wanted to be here in support of the commission. And anything that you want to ask about this particular piece, trying to get these businesses open on May 20th. We've had numerous calls all the way since last Friday when it just kind of broke news that they were going to try to do something of this magnitude, and I just feel that we need to amend our zoning regulations as liberal as possible. at this point for the existing businesses. I'm not asking for a new business to come in here and get all these rules. These are for existing businesses. The mayor and I went and visited like 2 or 3 businesses last Friday. Some of them already have action plans in place or trying to get items in place. 40 Thieves is one. Outer Light was one. We did talk with Paul's Pasta, and he is contemplating on what he'd like to do. And I think we talked with the mayor this weekend, talked with Buford's, who thinks that they will try to stay within their bounds currently because they seem more logistics than to make it happen than to produce the food that for the events to happen outside.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it's Brian Leclerc from Bertram Moses. Mr. Smith is correct. The governor has, in some form for him, another executive order. As you know, he's issued some 30-odd executive orders now. One of them that I looked at in draft the middle of last week had to do with restaurants and outdoor dining, specifically at restaurants that previously did not have outdoor dining approved, and it was a way to expedite the approval of that outdoor dining for bars, establishments to try to save the businesses, frankly, and keep them in business. I know that's something that the mayor is very interested in, as well as is Mr. Smith. Do you have, I know, a draft? The governor has not signed that executive order yet. We don't know when he will. But we expect it's going to be very broad. There's a motion tonight before.
He's talking and lost it.
Brian, you just muted yourself.
Sorry. There's a motion, thank you, before you this evening that I believe someone will make or could make for the city planner, authorizing the city planner or zoning official to approve site plan modifications pursuant to the regs or executive orders to allow restaurants, eating establishments, and what you call microbrewery, distillery, wineries under your regs to have outdoor dining during this time of public health emergency.
This is Paul Kunkemuller. Thank you both for your comments. So how would that, how would we envision that process working? There would, an establishment would come to the city planning and zoning official. Would they have to make an application, or, what would how would the process work? Thought about that at all?
Absolutely, yeah. The executive order I looked at had a provision where it eliminated architects, engineers, site plans, fancy drawings to make it much more easier and simpler for businesses, restaurants, other eating establishments to come in and to get this temporary approval for this summer into the fall period of time. Basically, just a modification of their existing site plan to expand their dining to outdoor areas. The state had them, under the executive order, allowed them to go out onto sidewalks, I think 4 feet out, or still providing 4 feet of sidewalks. It allowed them to use side yards, normal setbacks, even adjoining commercial property if it was in the same zone, even parking spaces, other than handicap spaces, to try to help the businesses out. So I think that you'd have to stay, the zoning official or the city planner would have to follow the executive order once it is issued. I expect it to be, and if not, I think we should give him some power. The idea is to give him some power to make site plan modifications as long as the public health emergency is existing, to allow outdoor dining to businesses that traditionally have not applied for outdoor dining.
Paul Kunkemuller again. So that would that wouldn't require wouldn't require individual action on these by the commission, correct? It would give the city planner or the zoning official the authority to approve these changes temporarily.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. That was the idea, so that the staff could react, the zoning official or city planner could react much quicker than having to wait for a special meeting or a regularly scheduled meeting of this commission, because they're only meeting, most commissions meet once a month, as is yours, and that's 4 weeks, arguably, without outdoor dining once the weather turns.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from commissioners on that proposal?
Yes, Jim Streeter, how does that work out with the permission of the New London Lighthouse or Light Health District?
I think that's a great question. They will also be on that meeting tomorrow that the town has set up for us, and the 200 restaurants in the town of Groton, Mystic area, the 10 restaurants we have in the city. They are trying to react on this just as fast. They've kind of made up a draft. It's only a draft right now, checkoff list, because they don't have an executive order to go out with it yet. But when I was talking with Steve Mansfield, when the town and I were talking with Steve Mansfield, John Reiner in particular, this afternoon on a conference call, Steve Mansfield was the director of Ledgelight. Was going to be as receptive to, if he even talked about, listen, if someone wants to cook outside, they are going to be very lenient about how they can cook outside, such as a pig roast, right? Let's say Tom Drazier down at Outer Light wants to have a pig roast out there with serving of his taste for his tap room outside. They're going to let that happen at this time, only for this period. And all these permits, I think they were going to go till November 1st of 2020. They weren't going any further at that point. Cold weather kicks in, all the other items that hamper you from actually going outside and doing that.
So that this is Paul Kunkelmuller. This would of course be subject then to approval. Each one of these would be subject to approval by the Ledgelight Health District also, correctly?
Not each one. So if it's dining only, they're going to let the locals take care of the dining only. From that perspective, it's truly about the food service and the hand washing stations. Once those established with them, with a note saying what they're going to do and where it's going to be done, that's as far as they need to go. Unless one of the items that we're all trying to figure out is who's going to be the enforcing side of this. Is it going to be Ledgelight? Is it going to be the police? We're not sure on that, and that's what they're kind of waiting for in the governor's order. They kind of hinted more towards into the health districts than they did the police with this, because they can remove their food serving license very quickly versus the police given an infraction on there. As our staff attorney had talked to us about, we are trying to talk about parking spaces, side yards, rear yards. The mayor and I and others and the police chief had sat down and talked that our sidewalks just don't give us the space to do that in most locations. The only sidewalk that will give us that kind of opportunity is 40 Thieves prior to the planting area that's over there. There's about, 10, 15 feet of space between the building and the planting area that they can manipulate some what they call barrels. They like to put barrels out there to have people stand and have small pieces of pizza or something with their beverage on it. Mayor, do you have any words of support to this or participation?
Well, none other than this is an opportunity for us to get businesses back on board. It's better than just takeout, because this way they'll have takeout and they'll have sit down, although it'll be outside. In addition to that, the way that this is going to be handled will give us some flexibility and nimbleness so that Carlton will be able to make that decision and not have to go through an arduous process of getting it approved. So that's the intent, is to try to get the businesses open as soon as possible, and Ledgelight is involved, and that helps us keep the safety, one, of the workers, but two, of the customers that will be going to the restaurant.
And we also were trying to be very upfront with you before this actually happened, so you didn't drive by and go, hey, how did that tent, how did the parking places get taken over? Who approved that? We didn't see this. We are trying to do this up front with this motion, and not just, say, well, it's an executive order and we got to live with it. This is a community and we all have to live together, and that's even more important.
This is Paul Kunkemuller. Thank you for that. Are there any other questions or comments from commissioners?
Mr. Chair, Andre Baumgartner here.
Yes.
Carlton, has there been any consideration to utilizing existing surface parking or streets to accommodate the outdoor dining for those restaurants that may not have, some frontage or a sidewalk that can, for seating?
We had talked on Friday about some centralizing, and we're not sure the logistics of that. It had been brought to our attention by the economic specialist, Sierra Patrick, as a suggestion. Most of the businesses that we went and seen, they do have places out back. As example, Friendly Tide, they have a pretty large area out back that normally is used for parking. That we see them putting up a tent and putting their 50% of their tables out there, like the governor's order possibly could read. On there. So we've kind of looked at all the existing businesses and restaurants that are here to think that out a little more. We have a lot more questions than answers when we centralize the food industry. Like I think it was brought up, maybe Pizza Today would be, you could get Pizza Today, Friendly Thai, and Buford's into that, but there seem to be more questions than answers for all of us to think out of the box quite at that time.
Thank you.
This is Paul Kunkemuller. Any other questions or comments from commissioners?
Yeah, this is Jim Streeter again. I just want to commend Carlton and the mayor for taking the bull by the horns on this, because it is a very important thing to our community to keep these businesses going.
Thank you, Paul Kunkemuller. I agree with that comment. Anything else from other commissioners?
Carl, do we know where we stand with this? Jerry Keeler. How about food trucks? Are they going to fall under this guideline also?
I haven't seen anything about food trucks from the governor's office. I don't think any of us have. The ones that are parked up by EB are basically under a vendor's license, so they get to park there. There are certain areas that the vendors are allowed in the city by a city permit, right, by the city police permit. I think they will maintain those places, and so that they're not dismissed. And I don't have any more comment. I don't have a lot. Haven't had a lot of food trucks come down here and knock on the doors to say, hey, I'd like to put up a food truck down at Five Corners.
Yeah, mostly the food trucks, there are a couple or three food trucks that stay outside of Electric Boat on Eastern Point Road, and that's about it. We don't have a lot of food trucks in the city of Groton. That is one of the things that's on my list to get more of here in the city, but right now we don't have that. We don't have that need from them.
Paul Kunkemuller, thank you. Other questions or comments? All right, it's a little hard when you can't see people, but it's like hearing none. I'm going to make a motion then. I move that the city planner and/or zoning official approve site plan modifications pursuant to the zoning regulations and/or executive orders to allow restaurants, eating establishments, and microbrewery, distillery, wineries to have outdoor dining during this time of public health emergency.
Baumgartner, second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. I will call the roll. Ms. Bergeron.
Yes.
Mr. Baumgartner.
Yes.
Mr. Keeler.
Yes.
Mr. Rose.
Yes.
Mrs. Streeter.
Yes.
Mr. Streeter.
Yes.
Paul Kunkelmuller votes yes, so that motion is approved 7-0-0.
Thank you.
Anything else on report of staff?
Yeah, I had one other item that came before me that this is more of a knowledge than it is for no action by the committee, but I had a prospective business that would have liked to gone to 350 Mitchell Street, which is Pizza Today, down on the other end where the pet store used to be, or the grooming person was, and they were interested in putting in a package store there. Unfortunately, our zoning regulations in the Five Corner District doesn't call for package stores in there. They didn't actually call it package stores. I think we retail sale of liquor. I was trying to think of the right words that were put. Retail sale of liquor was not in that zone. I think there's no action by your committee, but I think if people tell you, if you hear this and staff tells you about it a few times, maybe the next time the zoning regulations come up, you would think about adding that or not. Maybe you'd still dismiss it because of whatever the reason was. But if you hear people are interested in doing a certain business over and over again in a certain area, you may think about it in the future.
Jim Streeter, Carlton, you recall years ago there was a liquor store next to where the Dunkin' Donuts is now?
That's correct, yeah. There was a nice little yellow package front store there, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think as long as they're not within so many feet of a school. Now, I don't think they're very close to Sacred Heart School there, so
yeah,
that would be an issue.
So, that zone was a GC zone at one time, right? And that's how the package store, the one that Jim Streeter was just talking about, was there. But now they've changed over a Five Corner District because the Plan of Conservation Development had seen a much larger need in that area to attract larger housing, such as what this floating zone's coming at you in a text amendment. You've seen that they had seen other things that they would like to happen there. But they didn't see package stores or retail sale of liquor. I won't continue to call them package stores. I'll try not to.
In fact, Carlton, if I'm not mistaken, there was a little liquor store next to Buford's Restaurant at one time too.
Yes.
I didn't visit that one.
Eddie's package store.
Eddie's, okay.
Before he moved to Pequannock Road.
So this is Paul Kunkelmuller, and just to, in the Mr. Gader had proposed a series of updates to the text of the zoning regulations, and that it may be worth considering that we get a planner on board and get ourselves back and get some time to focus on that. It may be worth including some wording in the regulation updates that might allow that.
But the staff, that's all staff has for tonight.
All right, so is there any, I have just one more question. This is from Paul Kunkelmuller again. Anything new updates on EB, on the construction? Are they, my understanding is they're still going to finish by the date they have to finish by, right?
Well, that's what their letters. Any correspondence with letters I have passed on, or the mayor's office has passed on, as we get them. I think the last one was probably a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. Yeah, I'm looking at the mayor and the mayor's admin, and they're saying the same time frame I am on there. Yes, that's what they said. They're still looking for February 2023, even though we know they're lagging behind. You do see the two new blue, they're not new, but the blue rigs are back for the in water. So they came off the state pier and got repaired, and they're back over at the water site doing water core boring out there. So they're going back at it. We haven't had any newer complaints since those letters came out for noise. On there that I can remember, but right now you've got the attorney's opinions letters also, and there's no harm, no foul right now. As soon as we get past this foundation, things will quiet back down. It's the foundation that's causing this.
Right. So Paul Kuckemuller, all right. Well, thank you. Anything else on report of staff?
No other. Mayor would like to say something.
Yeah, I just want to give you an update. This coming Friday, we have 2 planner interviews. So that's the latest on filling the planner position.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's good news.
Yeah, we think so.
Thank you for that. Anything else? All right, so let's see. Motion to adjourn at 8:08.
Second.
All right.
Is that normal?
Yes.
Thank you.